when the Chinese tourists came here, and they were up to 70% of our tourism market. Our GDP grew by 30%. That's a huge impact on our economy. But China made the offer to me. They said, we can fill every hotel room. If you need a million tourists, we can give you 1 million tourists, and we can build all the hotels you need. With us, the sky's the limit. However, you need to denounce your relationship with Taiwan.
Why do you think that other countries are now switching allegiances to Beijing? And what kind of conversations are you having with Beijing about diplomacy? Hello and welcome to Connected. I'm Divya Gopalan. Palau is one of Taiwan's 12 diplomatic allies. With a population of around 18,000, Palau is one of the smallest countries in the world, but it is known for punching above its weight, especially at international forums and summits. The country relies on financial aid from the United States, and its strategic position in the South Pacific has made it a key player in geopolitics. And we now have the pleasure of welcoming the President of the Republic of Palau, His Excellency Surangel Whipps Jr. from Palau's former capital, Koror. Thank you very much, Your Excellency.
Well, thank you, Diva, and thank you for the opportunity to be able to talk about Palau. It's always a great pleasure to share with our friends around the world about what's going on in Palau, and the media is a very important part of that role, and we just thank you for the opportunity.
So as we are TaiwanPlus, I want to start with Taiwan, and let's start with the relations that Palau has with Taiwan. How would you describe the relations between the two countries, and how would you say it's developed in the nearly 4 years of your presidency term so far?
Well, the relationship between Palau and Taiwan is, I would say, as strong as it has ever been. Palau's relationship with Taiwan, actually, I recall it beginning back in the 1980s, and I just had the opportunity at that time to serve as a special assistant to President Edpison. This was back in 1989, and I remember back in those days when they started with the agricultural mission in Palau and began the efforts in helping Palau with food security, but developing our agriculture industry. And of course, that was further strengthened in 1999 with our formal diplomatic relations. And it has just continued to expand in every direction, from agriculture to aquaculture to healthcare. Not only expanding healthcare here in Palau, but also the opportunity for us to come to Taiwan to receive medical care and telemedicine. The opportunity to develop our infrastructure, especially roads, but in so many areas. The other, I think, really important sector that Taiwan has been so critical in is our tourism sector, and trying to help market and develop programs that bring in tourists, because really our number one, our largest sector in our economy is tourism, and very important for us to develop. So really Taiwan's partnership has been tremendous. And not only that, we're so fortunate to have Taiwanese investments in Palau, hotels and in the tourism sector. And we want to see more of that. And we want to see more Taiwanese investment in Palau. So it's really about partnership. It's about winning together. And one of the things I'd like to see is Taiwanese carrier choosing Palau as an alternate hub and coming here and flying to the rest of the Pacific and maybe the rest of Asia. So I think there is opportunities there that we can continue to grow to develop those businesses.
I would like to talk a little bit more about is Taiwan's involvement in Palau's healthcare system. It's something that Taiwan likes to emphasize and one of Taiwan's strengths. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, when it comes to healthcare, we have a really long relationship with Shinkong Hospital in Taiwan. And many of our patients that we can't treat here for heart problems or cancer, we send them to referral in Taiwan. And that has expanded. It's not only Shinkong, also McKay's and other hospitals there have also helped us in those areas. But even more importantly is hospitals like Shinkong have also sent medical missions to Palau, and they'll send specialists here to help us with eyes, with orthopedics, with heart, all those, and look at patients, and then end up, if we can't treat them here, send them off island for referral. So that has been an important component of our treating our citizens here in Palau, because as a small country, it's hard for us to provide those extensive services that you would find in a large city or a large country. The other thing that Taiwan has been so generous in is providing medical supplies and equipment. And I'll just give you an example of what happened during COVID. During COVID, one of the challenges we had was getting a unit for the lab so that they could be able to handle the testing in a safe manner. And this device was too big to put on a plane to send down to Palau, so it ended up being shipped on a fishing vessel to get it to Palau, because at the time there were still fishing boats longliners that were fishing in Palau that were Taiwanese. So that piece of equipment arrived here on that fishing vessel. But whether it's face mask or recently, also during COVID, we were able to bring in lab equipment and also testing equipment to help us further, not only for COVID, but now we're set up so that, and if we have another outbreak or any kinds of incidences in the future, the laboratories and testing facilities that can help us through that. So really a very important component of our healthcare system. The last thing that I like to emphasize is you can't talk about health without talking about prevention. And when you talk about prevention, it's coming in and doing also helping people understand good nutrition. And good nutrition, not only do we teach about it, there's also been programs to help our students in the schools to eat healthy. So volunteers coming and helping us with school menus, and not only that, through the agricultural mission, providing the right kinds of foods to help our kids eat more healthy. So it really is a comprehensive healthcare approach, not only focusing on the disease, but focusing on prevention. And that's what it should be. It should be holistic. So we're really grateful for the support in the medical field.
And while we talked about Palau and Taiwan's enduring relationship, there's one issue that always overshadows this, and that is China. Beijing, of course, with many countries, just for our viewers, you have to choose either forming a diplomatic ties with either China or Taiwan. And Palau has been steadfast in its commitment to Taiwan, but China has recently offered all kinds of financial incentives to extend that relationship, to extend a relationship to Palau, a diplomatic relationship. Why has Palau not taken that up?
Well, first of all, Palau has been very clear. We are friends to all, enemies to none. And China, of course, is a member of the UN and has always wanted Palau to establish a diplomatic relationship with China. But they come with strings, and they tell us, we'll establish diplomatic relations with you. However, you need to denounce your relationship with Taiwan. And we've made it very clear that that's not how it works. Nobody should tell us who we can be friends with. Our relationship with Taiwan is solid and it's growing, and we'll continue. If you want to be our friend, you're welcome to be our friend, but we will not denounce any other friendship that we have. Of course, China's approach has been, that's illegal and you should not be doing it. But before that, of course, the tone has always been, we're the largest economy in the world. The opportunities with China, the sky is the limit. They've allowed many tourists from China to visit Palau. In fact, in 2016, we had record number of tourists from China, almost 100,000 tourists, made up almost 70% of our tourism market. And but when diplomatic relations didn't pan out, those numbers have continued to decline. By 2019, they'd come down by almost half. And you know, there is no marketing. You can't market Palau in China or bring any tourists. And it's sort of been the, if you don't follow what we want, then we're going to make you suffer. Or as one news anchor here said, weaponizing tourism. And, you know, we believe that we should live in a world where we, first of all, respect each other's boundaries. It should be a rules-based order. And we should respect democracy and freedom to choose. And Taiwan, if anything, is a partner, but most importantly, we share common beliefs when it comes to democracy and freedom. And there's only 12 of us left, but I think it's now more important than ever that we show our support to Taiwan and ensure that the status quo remains and that they continue to be a free and independent country, just like us. We have been advocating for them that it's important for them to be part of the world and recognized in organizations like the WHO, ICAO, and other organizations that are critical, because they are, you know, those 23 million people in Taiwan are part of this planet, and their voice should be heard, and they should participate in world affairs.
You mentioned that Taiwan has only 12 allies left, and a number of those are in the South Pacific. In fact, Taiwan also recently lost one South Pacific island, Nauru. Why do you think that other countries are now switching allegiances to Beijing? And what kind of conversations are you having with Beijing about diplomacy?
Well, you know, I don't know the particulars of each country, but I'm sure a lot of it boils down to finding the best solutions for your people, or the best opportunities for your people, and many times those opportunities revolve around economics. And just an example, when the Chinese tourists came here and they were up to 70% of our tourism market, our GDP grew by 30%. That's a huge impact on our economy, and it makes a big difference. At the same time, there was numerous investors coming in wanting to build hotels and do other activities. At one point, the largest number of investment coming into Palau for the last 10 years was mostly China, except recently, finally, we have a Japanese hotel that's being built here this year. But before that, it was really dominated by one country. And before that was Taiwanese, and then it was Chinese, and then now, of course, Japanese are back. But we want a diversified market, and but China made the offer to me. They said, you know, we can fill every hotel room. If you need a million tourists, we can give you 1 million tourists, and we can build all the hotels you need. With us, the sky's the limit. So, you know, if you're in Palau and you're at 100,000 tourists and you want to go to 1 million tourists, you can just imagine the impact that would have on your economy and the standard of living and everybody here. So, you know, that does weigh on us and weighs on leadership on how to develop an economy that's resilient. One thing that we did learn, and I think that's helped us, is we did see that, well, that may sound great, but even with the 100,000 Chinese tourists that came to Palau, we began to see that it was overwhelming to our community, and things that were happening that weren't good. I'll give you an example. We have a law that bans the taking or the harvesting of bumphead parrotfish or Napoleon wrasse. But during that time, there were so many tourists here, and the lure of money, they had Palauans out poaching those fish, and there was a hotel that was busted, a Chinese hotel, that had these fish inside because the Chinese tourists demanded and wanted to eat them. Those are examples of uncontrolled tourism, too much, too fast, maybe some of the unintended consequences. So it really is, you look at relationships and how do they grow, and they mutually benefit each other. The other thing that was, of course, offered was, we want to have a call center in Palau. We'll bring 10,000 people there, and you won't even know that they're there. Well, if you have a population of 20,000, there'll be 10,000 people working at a call center. I think the impact is going to be pretty big. But the lure is, of course, that would have generated $20 million a year, and that was something that at the time, right before COVID, and during COVID, it was, it looks very attractive. But these we've seen these opportunities come, and I can see that's probably the lure that it has throughout the Pacific, and other partners. They say, well, if I've got to put food on the table, I've got to take care of our citizens. How can I denounce or deny that? And so we're constantly going through and balancing and trying to figure out, how do you have these relationships, but ultimately, how do they really benefit your citizens? And I think over time, we've learned that really what's most important is we develop a resilient economy that's diversified, but most importantly, that cares for our environment and ultimately uplifts our people. And most importantly, with a partner that really respects the rule of law. One of the things that we've seen recently, and at least since I've been in office, is we've had research vessels from China come to Palau, traverse our EEZ, put gear in the water. We have photographs of them. They say they're hiding from a storm or some other excuse, but that's a clear violation of our sovereignty, and coming into our EEZ uninvited, and doing research activities that are not innocent passage. I think helps, at least for people in Palau, understand the importance of being partners with like-minded partners that respect the rule of law and democracy. So.
But at the same time, increase in Chinese investment, there's been an increase in Palau in real estate investment. What has been the impact of that?
Well, of course, it's benefited individuals, some of them political leaders and others, and that of course is a concern, because we've had political leadership in the past, and some currently still have strong relations with China, and of course, what I talk about as offers are continuing to be being offered, really the importance that a case that I pitched to Washington during my visits, and of course when we were talking about the compact, is this relationship with the United States has to have a solid footing, and part of that is not only security, but whether it's warships, but also economic security and building economic resilience. And that's really what this new chapter of our relationship with the United States is building that economic resilience, inviting U.S. investment, inviting Japanese investment, inviting Taiwanese investment, diversifying the economy, bringing in new types of business, building up aquaculture, looking at maybe Palau being a medical center, partnering with Taiwanese and making Palau a medical center for the Pacific, looking at opportunities to develop the financial sector. I mean, these are, I think, opportunities that are out there that can help diversify our economy, bring in tourists not only from China, but more importantly from Japan, from Korea, from the United States, from Europe, and India, all these places that are new markets that are developing that can hopefully continue to help build a robust tourism sector, but one that's diversified, that provides that stability that we need. And I think what's most important is in our relationship with the United States, under the compact, the Palau has given the United States its denial rights, but most importantly, the security of Palau, the responsibility of the United States. But we also understand that our role in that relationship is also providing for the security of the United States and for ensuring a free and open Indo-Pacific. And through that relationship, we've seen, of course, the development of the over-the-horizon radar sites that are being built in Palau, expansion of ports and airports to further enhance U.S. capabilities in the region. Because ultimately, we really believe in the concept that Ronald Reagan had, which is the way to achieve peace is through strength. And that's a more secure Pacific is a more peaceful Pacific. And I think that's, we all understand our role in ensuring that from now into the future. So.
Right, I want to talk about that a little more. And just to give our viewers a little bit of context, Palau relies on partial government funding from the Compact's Free Association Agreement with the United States, and in return gives the U.S. strategic access to the Pacific Ocean. Now, those funds in this fiscal year were delayed and a cause for concern and had some impact. Can you talk about, it's now been resolved, but can you talk about the concern over that and possibly any questions over U.S. commitments with Palau?
So in May 22 of last year, Palau signed an agreement with the United States. The negotiators signed. That was our special envoy along with the U.S. special envoy. But to ratify it, of course, both sides, Palau has had to pass its own legislative ratification, and the U.S. had to pass through its Congress. We had hoped, and so Palau went through its legislative process. It was done in June of last year, and we had hoped that the United States would finish their legislative approvals by October 1st, because funding was supposed to kick in on October 1st. And just to give you an idea of the funding that was going in to help our budgetary support or help us with our government, this year would have been $2 million under the compact. Because of the revised compact, you're getting $42 million. So it's a big difference, and so it was critical that it needed to be passed because Palau had mounting debts prior to COVID, and through COVID had risen much, and then just to keep the government going, because we haven't fully recovered from COVID, we were piling on more debt. So it was important to get the agreement into place to reduce taking on more debt, but also help us begin paying down that debt and get us on the right path forward. That was critical. When it didn't pass in October, of course, doubts began to hover in Palau. Is this really gonna happen? And so it began to get worse because first the budget didn't pass, so then possibly it was going to pass on another piece of U.S. legislation, was the National Defense Authorization Act, which was supposed to be done at the end of the year. We got taken out of that legislation. Then there was the assistance for Ukraine and for Israel and the border. We got put into that, and then last minute we were taken out of that. And so we're now in February, but we're grateful really for the senators and the congressmen and President Biden and his team for coming to a compromise and getting Congress in the end to pass it in March, and being able to, on March 15th, officially exchange diplomatic notes and put it into effect. So it was a long and bumpy road. And of course, when that happens, it raises doubts, it raises concerns in our community. And, one of the things I shared with our friends and colleagues in Washington is I said, we don't want this to repeat what had happened in 2010. In 2010, there was an agreement that was reached. It took until 2018 until it was fully implemented because the U.S. Congress was on continuing resolutions and they couldn't weren't able to pass it. And that we don't want those kinds of doubts to come back. We want to build on the strong momentum to have the faith and hope and the trust that the people of Palau have in the United States. We want to build on that. We want to continue to expand on that, just like our relationship with Taiwan. And it was late. However, I can say it was done just in time, and we are grateful because sometimes, as I've told many friends, democracy is not as pretty as when you were a king. You can just say it's going to get done. It's going to get done, right? But in democracies, we don't have that luxury. Sometimes debate takes a little longer than we expect, but it gets done. And that's the hope in the system we have. And that's the system we have at home. We have a lot of debates too, and a lot of we have to make compromises. But that's the beauty of democracy, and that's the beauty of having an open and transparent government. We're just grateful that it's done and it's passed, and we can move forward now into the next phase, which is really implementing the compact, inviting investment, and continuing to grow our economy so we can be strong and resilient and continue to promote a free and open Indo-Pacific.
We've been speaking to Surangel Whipps Jr., the President of the Republic of Palau. We will be continuing the conversation in our next episode, where we will look at security and climate change risks facing the South Pacific island nation. Do check in with us for that. It has been great to have your company. If you'd like to join the conversation, do head over to our social media channels and leave us a comment there. And if you're interested in exploring more issues across Taiwan, be sure to check out our YouTube and the TaiwanPlus website. Thank you for being with us today. And remember, stay informed, stay engaged, and stay connected.